So this was originally posted by Dr. Rachel Rubin, and somebody tagged me in the study asking that because of the author's conclusion, which I'll get to in a second, would this affect patients that have rectal endometriosis? So let's take a look at this study. This is entitled Vaginal Use of Estradiol is Associated with a Reduced Risk of Rectal Cancer in Postmenopausal Women, a Finnish nationwide case control study. The highlights of the study indicate that vaginal estradiol use for greater than or equal to 3 years was associated with a 23% fall in the risk of rectal cancer. That lower level of risk persisted for up to 5 years after stopping treatment, and that rectal cancer appeared 9 years later in vaginal estradiol users than in non-users. So here are the results from the abstract. The users of vaginal estrogen were diagnosed with rectal cancer on average 9 years later than non-users, and use of vaginal estrogen for more than or equal to 3 years was associated with a reduced risk of rectal cancer. So the authors conclude that vaginal estradiol may be associated with a reduced risk of rectal cancer, and then they hypothesize that this may be due to estradiol infiltration into the rectal mucosa. I think the important thing to understand is that this is simply a hypothesis. The authors are not suggesting that this is in fact the cause. All they found was that there was an association of using vaginal estradiol and a reduced risk of rectal cancer. And that is so important to keep in mind whenever we are reviewing peer-reviewed evidence. In order to test whether or not this is applicable, we would have to do a prospective randomized controlled trial. Keep in mind, this case control study was retrospective. This was looking back at data that had already been collected and essentially matching cases with controls. And so it's always data that's looking back. So the question of, is there this causal association between vaginal estradiol use and rectal cancer? That wasn't the original intention of the cases and controls that they were looking at. Now, while there could be some biological plausibility to what the authors are hypothesizing, the way that we understand vaginal estradiol at this point is that it is essentially vaginal skincare. And so the systemic absorption is relatively negligible, although, as far as this being locally applied, where it is applied is in close proximity to the rectum. So bringing that back to patients with endometriosis, I could understand how this could be a concern. But again, to know how this medication would impact rectal endometriosis, we would have to do a prospective randomized controlled trial. As always, let me know if you have any questions or comments about this.